Welcome to the Plant-Based Podcast. Did you know that plants are truly amazing? Not only can you grow them and eat them, you can also wear them, drink them, nourish your skin with them, and so much more. Let Ellen and Michael inspire you to love plants as much as they do, as they chat with the movers and shakers in this wonderful plant-based world. So, let's dig in.
This episode of the Plant-Based Podcast is brought to you by our friends at Cobra. The Cobra range of garden machinery is constantly expanding and offers the UK's largest range of lawnmowers. With a comprehensive lineup of quality and innovative petrol, electric, battery and cordless products to tackle any gardening task, Cobra is the newest evolution in garden machinery. Visit cobragarden.co.uk for your chance to win a variety of great Cobra products.
So in today's episode, we have a fabulous interview with a Japanese garden designer, and we'll tell you much more about her in a little while. But we thought we'd kick things off different style today and have our gossip at the beginning of the episode rather than at the end.
Yeah, defo. So the zany kind of crazy, can't keep up with it part is at the beginning. So yeah, maybe let us know if you like it, because, you know, this could be the way forward.
We can always switch things around, can't we?
Yeah. Tell me about your day, Ellen, and then I'll tell you about my automatic soap dispenser after that.
I don't know if I can get through my day before you tell me about your automatic soap dispenser.
We get that out of the way first then.
Yeah. What? Why? Tell me about it.
I just thought it would be pretty cool, you know. And and you just put your hand under and it gives you a bit of soap. It's excellent. I feel so, 2030. I really do.
How does it work? What's it connected to?
It's a sensor.
But where does the sensor, is it like a battery?
Yeah. It's a battery. So you put your hand under it and it gives you a bit. And if you're really careful, you don't spill any on the floor.
So basically you do spill lots on the floor.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, about your day.
So my day has been a day full of work. And then actually you as well, you might have already forgotten, we've just done an Inspires school assembly with year 3 children as part of RHS Inspires campaign, talking to 7-8-year-olds about careers in horticulture.
Yeah.
So that was nice. Hopefully that has inspired them a little bit to get into working with plants.
It's always really hard to know, like, kids' level of interest, because you don't get that feedback like you would with an adult. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. They did have lots of questions, though.
Yeah, true, actually. And quite intelligent questions as well, to be honest.
It's always lovely to see that younger students are being taught about climate change and sustainability in the environment. Yeah.
When they come out with these phrases and stuff and they ask about that, I'm always taken aback a little bit, because I don't know what it's like to be at school now and the things that you would learn about. But I guess when we were at school, I remember recycling paper was a big thing. And I remember so many chats about the ozone layer. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I can remember the ozone layer in geography, actually.
Where's that now?
I don't know, but I tell you what, the one thing I did think when I was looking at them all sitting there in their school uniforms was, thank goodness I'm not at school anymore.
Really?
I just couldn't do that. I couldn't be a teacher either.
Oh, God, I really fancy some chips.
Well, you always fancy food of some description, so this doesn't surprise me.
Oh, how's your allotment, darling?
Oh, my allotment was fine. I went there afterwards, after we'd done our Zoom webinar thingy. And it started to rain and I was going to line the inside of my new compost bins, but B&Q have very kindly given me the wrong size staplers for my staple gun, which really annoyed me because it took me ages to get the staple gun out of the packet. I sliced 2 fingers with the packaging and then the staples didn't fit. And as you can imagine, Michael, that did not make me very happy.
You're like me when I couldn't get the grill pan back in my toasty maker. I just couldn't work it out. Sometimes I just get this mind block and it's just, I just can't work it out.
I think it's like a red mist because you just get so frustrated and you cannot see your way through it.
Do you want to know the worst thing? Like, I'm so cat-handed at like making stuff work. And so if I ever have to demo something on QVC, I am screwed because I can't do it. There's this clip where I had to do this like, like multi-layer ladder that does all these different shapes and blah, blah. And I wasn't demoing it, but there was one in the studio, so it was good for me to see me doing some bits with it. And, oh, my God, I couldn't work it out. And it's like the camera's not staying off me to kind of help me get it. And it's just... And my brain just couldn't compute it. And I didn't know how to turn the things and the knobs. And it's like, oh, these things are supposed to be user-friendly, we're telling everyone. But
not when they're given to someone completely impractical. So basically, when my fruit cage is delivered for my allotment, you're helping me put that up. I absolutely dread to think what that fruit cage is going to look like.
People in a field.
It's going to be messy, isn't it? That's for sure.
Oh, my God. I don't know. It's just there's some block I have with practical stuff. I think I want to get it right, but then somehow, I don't know. I can't work it out. It's just...
You can't be good at everything, but one thing you are very, very good at, and that is container planting.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Oh, my God. So why don't we kick off the discussion about Japanese garden styles and plants with what you do over at Bakura Garden School?
I love it when Ellen's like, right, this is the moment where we stop messing about and we get sensible.
Well, we don't have to be sensible, but we should probably get on with the topic.
Because we're going to talk about a few Japanese bits and that will lead us into our little mini interview with Makiko. But that was originally going to be a gossip, but we thought it was too good to use just at the end of an episode, so we've made that the whole episode. But yeah, you mentioned Bakura containers. It's amazing. It's a style that I learned in Japan, but the irony of it all is I was in Japan to teach them English styles, but they already had a style, which was something that I was like, whoa, this is cool. And basically they're not planting up containers in a way that is, one geranium, one petunia, blah, blah, blah. They're planting up containers with, say a geranium or petunia, but you've also got grass, you've got ferns, you've perhaps got perennials that are flowering, you've perhaps even got a small tree in the center or shrubs. And you are really shoehorning those plants in.
I love that.
Amazing how many plants that these students can fit into these containers, because basically they're just arranging with living plants. This is like floristry, but with plants. And the idea is not that the container looks good for 6 months of the year. The idea is that the container looks good for, say, 4, 5 or 6 weeks of the year. So we're talking short term, but when you kind of forget about this long-term potting kind of thing, you can actually have fun and just use whichever plants you want to. And yeah, it's a good idea, obviously, if you don't use drought-loving plants against moisture-loving plants. But generally, if you just stick within either of those areas, you can create some amazing containers. And I learned so much from them, and I kind of honed my skill when I was there as well. And it's fun. It's really fun. Yeah.
So is that like a style that you would see generally in Japan, do you think? Or is it just...
No, not at all. Okay. Like in Japan, like it's funny, and we obviously talk about this with Makiko, but it's like the gardens are generally like quite small when you're kind of like in the cities, but they do have a kind of like plant area outside their front door, which is kind of like group of pots. But they're not necessarily creatively made. I mean, obviously it's different if you're then in the villages and the small towns, but kind of citywide is just, balcony plants, just a few here and there. But the container style, this is this is the only place that I've seen it in Japan. And of course, this was the first place I'd seen it in the world. Since then, I've kind of realised that Witchford in the UK also do that sort of style. And Harriet, who worked there, has been in Japan and kind of teaching them. So it kind of all inspired through that, really. I guess it's a cottage garden in a pot.
I love that. So you don't have to, like you saying that the pot might last, or the plants might last like 4 to 6 weeks, say, but some plants would last longer. So you might only have to take out a couple of plants and then
it might be you're just replacing a couple of plants, but I think we get so stressed in the UK about, having to get gardening right. Do you know what I mean? And this is all part of that. It's like, well, you can have a container and you can change it up, It doesn't matter, Yeah.
That's really cool. And actually, interestingly,
breaking the rules, you just have
that kind of container planting is really, really different to the actual Japanese garden design, because that's definitely not. It changes obviously hugely throughout the seasons. They're always so beautiful and serene, aren't they? But you wouldn't generally plant like that in a Japanese style garden, would you? So that's kind of completely contrasts what they would usually do.
Well, it's similar to, English gardens. Like, there's a vision of an English garden, but that doesn't mean that every garden in England looks like that,
Yeah.
You walk around local neighbourhood, how many English-style gardens are you really going to see? Perhaps 2%, So you have to realise, of course, the national way we think a Japanese garden is not necessarily that way when you actually see it for real. And they do grow, perennials. They love to grow a lot of cosmos later in the summer as well. And I've got a wonderful picture of this kind of garden, which is full of all this tall cosmos. And it's really wild looking. It's almost, a style that you wouldn't expect in Japan. So I think it's important to not kind of generalize any style of garden in any country, really, I would say.
Oh, yeah, completely. But I guess that we have... if we I haven't been to Japan, like literally seeing the cherry blossoms is on my bucket list. Yeah. But having not, been there and seen anything, the Japanese gardens that we see here, or in some other countries actually across the world, do have a very particular style, don't they? You always have the beautiful water features, like there for reflection and calm and peace. And one thing I really love about wandering around Japanese gardens, not in Japan, having not seen them, is that they're designed so that everywhere you walk, you see a different view. And you don't see it all in one go unless you get to a certain point in the garden. So usually there's twists and turns, or there'll be a wall or a mirror or a seating area or a bridge, and you don't see every part of the garden in one go. And so it kind of leads you through the garden, and your interest is always on something different. And I love that about Japanese gardens.
Definitely. Sorry, I'm distracted. I was trying to work out how to make you bigger. Just so you know. Yes, Japanese gardens, I agree.
I want to be bigger. It's good. Make me bigger.
It is. There's a lot of different styles, a lot of different ways that stuff will be done. The thing that kind of is obviously a trend, is kind of common across all of it, is they love the little details, because, Japanese culture, they really take the time to appreciate the small stuff. And so when in the nursery where I work there, you'll see lots of small leaf plants, tiny flowered things, kind of stuff that really has the detail to it. And so when you make up these containers, there's a couple of the students that actually make containers with all miniature plants in. So all these tiny little things with tiny berries, and some of those creations are just, oh my God, they blow my mind. But again, when they're potting up, they're not only shoehorning the plants in, but it might be that they're, planting up, some sort of trailing plant, but they will divide it in two to then use it in two different areas. Or the other thing they'll do, which sounds a bit weird, is like, a pot is usually the root ball is round. They'll kind of like flatten out the root ball, so it's then like an oblong shape. So then you can use the plant in a different way, and you can fit the plants into the container in a way. So it's real.
By squishing it, or actually
yeah. Like,
by
obviously,
it.
it works. It wouldn't work with something that's deeply rooted, but like smaller stuff, little pot plants, it's amazing. And so you've got that flexibility, and it really is like making a jigsaw container. It really is. Cool. And something else they really have in the nurseries that we don't have here as much is a lot of the perennials they're treated with a chemical to make them flower when they're small, the same way that we do with bedding plants in Europe. But they do it with a lot of perennials, such as Physostegia, for example. And that's a really popular plant there late summer, because you get these dinky little plants like this with all of those little blooms that have got all of that intricate detail. So when you're there, you will see some shockingly small plants that are not necessarily natural, but they're really fun to work with. Like they also, they force Calicarpa to give the purple berries on dinky plants as well, literally a foot tall.
That's so cool. I really do love how there is always so much attention to detail. And have you seen, like in the Japanese garden designs where you see the cloud topiary, the shapes, I mean, like, I don't know if that's Japanese privet maybe, or is it box holly? I don't know, but it's always like in cloud shapes, which always just totally looks amazing. And obviously the cherry blossoms as well. There's always lovely,
of course,
blossom, and coming out soon, I suppose, like April, May time. More May would be, they use rhododendrons and azaleas quite a lot.
That's cool. I love an azalea
design, which is lovely for that sort of time of year as well. And also the water and all the lilies in the water always look so beautiful.
Oh, Lotus Pools, yeah. Oh my God,
gorgeous.
There's some just next to the city in Tokyo, and you can see like the skyscrapers behind it. I always love that sort of view where you see like, the man-made stuff behind the nature.
I do as well. I love that. I don't know. It's like, I hope it's kind of seeing them both together. I think that's quite an emotive view when you see that. Just before I left America, I went to Atlanta Botanic Garden, and they have a really small Japanese garden there. And it is small, but there's so much detail in it.
Yeah.
You walk around and it's tiny, but there's so much to see.
Yeah.
And even in like the stepping stones and the paving, every detail is very intentional, and that's what I really love about it, for sure.
That's cool. I just mentioned about the city and the plants together, and that's actually a good place to point out. There's a word that we use during our talk with Makiko, and that is wabi sabi. And just to kind of make clear what wabi sabi is, first off, is kind of when you allow man-made objects. Sorry, I had a glass of wine. I'm sorry, that came out all wrong. It's when you allow man-made objects to become changed and kind of altered by nature. So that means, allowing moss to grow, allowing plants to go to seed, kind of that real marriage between the two. And that's quite a kind of cultural thing for a lot of Japanese people, to let things age in a way that is, graceful, I guess it is. And, like rusty gates, just different things that have got that beauty in them still, even though they may be in decay. So that is kind of wabi-sabi style, which I think when you translate that to European and English growing, that means kind of just relaxing a bit more about the gardens that we create and maintain.
And that's really cool. But I do love an English cottage garden. I can't even speak, and I haven't had a glass of wine.
That is wabi-sabi.
Yeah. That is wabi-sabi. And by the way, I'm concerned that you can't speak after only one glass of wine. Are you sure you only had one?
Well, I messaged you. I actually sent a public tweet to you to ask if you were bringing wine onto our Zoom. You didn't reply in time, and I'd already poured it. And you said no.
Do you know what? I was going to have a gin and tonic this evening.
Yeah.
And I was really cold, and I sat down on the sofa and put a blanket over me. And then you messaged me and said, will you be having wine on our call? And I was like, no, hurry up, because you were late. And and because it was only because I was so cold and I didn't want to get back up off the sofa to go and get myself a glass. Otherwise, I would have maybe had a gin and tonic, I think.
Oh, I thought it's because you didn't want a cold drink in your tummy.
Oh no, I wouldn't be concerned about that. But I after this, I do have like a Zoom party for my friend's birthday, so I probably will get up and get myself a gin and tonic.
Yeah, Ellen, how have I never been to a Zoom party or taken part in a Zoom quiz?
Yeah, we're going to change that.
How did I get away with that?
I don't know how you've gone a whole year in lockdown and not done this.
Oh my God.
Hey, you're just not invited to the party.
Get out. You did say we might do a quiz, though. That might be cool. We need to confirm the details. But yeah, what do you think? Plant-based Zoom quiz?
Yeah, plant-based Zoom quiz. We have a webinar, and then and we'll fix a date and get people to come along and have a plant party.
Cool. Oh, I feel like I need another wee. I drank 2 litres of water as well.
Okay, well, thank you so much for chatting this evening, Michael. It's been a pleasure as always. I'm going to leave you to go for your wee and more wine.
No, I'm fine. I had something else to tell you, but I can't remember what it was now. Oh, how are your seedlings?
Shall we talk about my seedlings? Thanks for asking. I'd really like to get this off my chest.
You can talk about it while I have a wee. I've sown quite
a few seedlings, but not loads because I'm always really late or later than most. I'm never in a rush to sow seeds ever. So I usually start in March. That's all quite normal. Sweet pea seeds doing really, really well. I used one packet that I'd had for a couple of years. Thought I'd give them a chance anyway. 1 out of 20 of Germany.
2 years is not long for seeds at all.
I think 2 years out of date probably, and they're very old.
Obsessed about those dates, but they're kind of almost a legal requirement. Like seeds. Well, I remember at Thompson Morgan we bought an old breeding project, and a lot of the seed was 50 years old, and it still grew.
Okay, well, I planted lots of different sweet peas. There was about 120 in the end, and there was 20 of this one kind, and only one of them have germinated. So that's that. Anyway, all the rest are fine. Now, I have sown the majority of my seeds in coir. So you know the coir blocks that you then put water on, and the ones that I've used the coir from the blocks, they all seem
coir from the block. Like
coir from the block. I'm still coir from the block.
I'm just coir from the block.
They seem to be germinating okay. But you know the coir pellets?
Yeah.
I'm not happy about that. I've had extraordinarily low germination rates in those.
I'm always suspicious about coir. I just don't think it holds on to moisture, and especially those little blocks. They must be drying out constantly. That must be hard to keep up with.
It's the pellets I found. The block
the pellets.
stuff is fine.
But pellets is such a small thing, isn't it?
It needs to be watered most days, but obviously then you don't want to water too much because it's just a seedling and then it would be too wet. So it's quite difficult to get the moisture levels right. But thankfully, because I was a bit concerned about that in the first place, I have kept some of those seeds to plant into some compost, which is what I'm going to do, which is a shame because then I've wasted some seeds, but they're not germinating. So so I'm sorry, folks, but the coir pellets I haven't found to be useful, but the coir blocks have been fine.
Oh my God. It's always awkward when you send something to trial and then it doesn't work, and it's like, well, how do I tell them that?
But I wouldn't. If there was something, I would be very honest about it. And if anyone sends me anything, they have to be prepared that I will say what I think about it, because that's only fair, isn't it? But yeah, overall, seedlings are popping up. Spring is here. Happy days.
Ew. What was the thing I was going to tell you? Damn it.
I don't know, but your hair looks ridiculous.
What do you mean?
Your hair. Look, on you there. There you go.
Sorry, it was on the wrong side. I don't know now. Damn it. Okay.
Well, anyway, why don't you introduce our guest on today?
Okay, that means that you're bored of me. Right. So we've talked a bit about soap dispensers, Japanese gardens, Ellen's distrust of coir. But we need to get on to the main event, which is our conversation with Makiko. And she is a garden designer who splits her time between London and Tokyo. And we just we just had a gossip with her. We just talked about Japanese things, Japanese culture, Japanese gardens, plants, all of that. And it's really fun. So kind of have a little listen. I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, write us a postcard. I don't know how to finish it.
Thank you.
Cool, but yeah, enjoy it. So give us a bit of feedback if you like.
Cool. We have a very special guest in our gossip section today. We've got Makiko, who is actually right now in Japan, and she spends her life between London and Japan. And she's going to tell us all about the Orchid Festival over there, the Sakura, which is obviously coming up as well. And we just want to find out more about real Japanese gardens as well. So this is a really special and exciting gossip for us to have today, isn't it?
It is. I'm really excited to chat with you. So thanks so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me today. Sorry, it's in evening time in Japan. Sorry. Yes. Thank you.
But it's not too near your bedtime, right? 8 p.m, yeah?
No, yes.
Cool. So we've only met for, I think, about 5 minutes at Chelsea Flower Show, because Chelsea's obviously a busy time, and I think we were just in passing. But I'd known of you for a few years because Kevin, who was at Hilliers, who's a great plantsman, you know him very well, and you've actually taken him plant hunting around Japan as well, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So what do you do day to day then? Tell us what your general role is and your career, a little bit of background on that.
Yeah, I do design gardens. So I have got job title as a garden designer. Mm-hmm. And also I can work as gardener. And I've been back to Great Dexter time to time, probably over 8 years now. Uh-huh. And always, I just needed to keep my green fingers anyway. Yeah. And I didn't want to lose, the kind of the sense of nature and the plants or those things. And I met Greg Dexter when I did Hampton Court Flower Show, which was my first show garden. So, yeah, I can work for both, but the designing is much more my main now. Mm-hmm. But before, I changed career anyway, before garden design industry. It was in Tokyo. I was working for hotel. So then I was trained hospitality or those things at hotel for, some years. Then when Japanese people wanted to do show design at Chelsea, they wanted to have somebody else who can coordinate and also be able to communicate with the people at the stand. So that was kind of my first initial sort of work, in England. Uh-huh. Then now I've got quite many sort of lots of fingers in the pie.
Yeah, lots of green fingers.
Yeah. So I have been involved with some shows in Japan and in the UK, as well as work as garden designer, and of course do gardening, things.
So what made you decide to take the jump from working in the hotel industry into gardening?
Yeah, it's because it's, in Japan, Japanese people prefer to be stayed in kind of, sort of the form like, we are really hard workers. But I was much more, energetic to be, going outside and sitting in the nature, or more I loved playing with plants and then those things, because I have brother, and my dad was an architecture, so I really like to imagine about sort of the space in the nature or sort of things. So before I made a decision to change my career into gardening, myself was, just kind of in, so how can I say, just like on the path. Nobody who can imagine easily how it would be much more easy or something like that. But after that, I just didn't want to stay there. So I just wanted to change it. Mm-hmm. So I didn't mean to go to the UK to study horticulture. And I started to research about, the college or schools or courses in Japan. But I just met one of the college, the Little College in East Sussex.
Okay.
Yeah. Then I just, went to UK to study horticulture.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
big
amazing.
Move.
That's a big move. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So along with all your garden design that you are involved in as well, I know that you also enjoy a little bit of plant hunting.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable. Always, people, love plants, have got really passion, to get into the plants. It's incredible world to me as well. And when I took the team to the plant hunting, it was so great, because only just a few meters, but we just spend there for maybe half an hour or sometimes 1 hour to look into just the small details, and talking about just a small piece of leaves. So that was incredible. I really loved it. And I really like to see much more plants as well.
Mm-hmm. Did they find anything cool and different then?
Yeah, probably. Uh-huh. I'm not sure how it comes up in the end, but I think it's on the process, and then I have got some few secrets as well.
Uh-huh. Oh my god! Because you're in Tokyo right now, and you've just been helping out or spending time at an orchid festival, haven't you?
Yeah, I started to be involved with them since 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Because they changed their organization, who is the main organizers or sort of things. And then they didn't have anyone who could, communicate with the other, the three other organization from overseas. And so that's why they wanted to have me. And then this year this year is our third year, but this year, of course, got, scaled down to hold an orchid show. So my part is quite, really much, like normally I do.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love orchids.
You've just been in Atlanta, haven't you?
So I've just been to the Atlanta Botanic Garden in the US. They have an orchid festival each year called Orchid Days. And they create kind of like a different theme each year. And this year it was just absolutely spectacular. They have some really rare orchids that you would otherwise never really see, I guess, unless you were out plant hunting in the wild. And there's just something about orchids. They're just very peaceful yet vibrant, so it's kind of, they lift the spirits, but they also make you feel quite calm. And you love orchids as well. Michael started to get a bit of a reputation as being an orchid expert.
Great. Come over to Japan.
I will. No, I love being in Japan. As you know, I spent lots of time there the last few years, and I've been to a few different flower shows as well. And it's just, I don't know, your appreciation for plants is it's like next level, because you're really, for things that are more delicate, the details, the colors, kind of, it's a really different style. And I think I've probably told you about my work at Barracuda English Garden. And make up these mixed containers, and the range of plants that are available in that garden centre are just phenomenal. And things that we never have here. And it's just...
Some of the things you create are exceptional. And then here in the UK,
easy to do it there,
people would perhaps think, oh, that's a bit odd. Do you know what I mean? But it isn't. It's that the design is it's just that attention to detail, which I love about how you garden there. That is quite a lot different. And I think in the UK, we're perhaps moving that way a little bit more. But the attention to detail is what's so important for your well-being, for your understanding and connection with plants. And I do feel like you have that connection better tied up, really. Definitely.
That's really fair. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You've done this the other day. I'm like all the way thinking about orchids and not keeping on track. I'm just before we go any further, I will just say.
We told you this is not an interview, but we do have notes just to make sure we get the right time.
Just so that we don't go off on a tangent, we have these notes. But because I was so in depth talking about orchids and imagining all of these lovely orchids, I wasn't paying any attention to what we should be talking about next. But before we do go on, I will just say, literally just before we came on this call, we had a delivery, and I had a delivery of food, and Michael had a delivery of orchids.
Oh, did you, boss? That's fantastic.
TV in a couple of days, and they've sent me like really unusual blue ones and also fragrant ones. Fragrant Phalaenopsis is a kind of quite new breeding from Sion in Holland, and they're very special. They're just the full-flowered ones. They're not the full-size ones, but they're really next dimension in orchids.
So now I don't know a great deal about orchids in depth, but I'm going to just put this one out there. From what I have found, and I've also been to the Singapore National Orchid Collection, which is exceptional. I do often find that the smaller flowering orchids are the more fragrant orchids. I don't know if that's from what I've found or the ones I've seen, that's definitely the case. So they may be smaller, but they make up for it in fragrance.
Yeah, the oncidiums. Have you seen the oncidiums with the yellow? Oh my God, the fragrance of those.
Blow away.
Cherry vanilla.
Anyway, so we all love orchids, that's for sure.
Great. That's good news.
But I'd love to know a little bit more about kind of the Japanese garden design in general. You know, we obviously Japanese gardens are tempted to be replicated all around the world because for their beauty and their calm and their connection with nature. And and whenever we go to a garden that's designed in like Japanese style, you immediately feel your blood pressure reduce. I love the way how you walk through, you don't see all of the garden at once. You know, you sort of turn corners, and each time you turn you see something different, and I love that about Japanese garden design. Like, tell us a little bit more about it, you know, and is it the same in Japan to when we try and replicate Japanese gardens elsewhere in the world?
Yeah, what do real back gardens look like?
Yeah, what's it
Are they
really
zen or
like?
are they messy? What's the truth?
In Japan,
Yeah.
It's a bit difficult to. No, it's not difficult. But of course, as you know about how Japanese garden looks like, it's really it's difficult to describe about the Japanese gardens because of lots of mentors in Japan to make Japanese gardens, and it's not really easy to speak out in front of like us, still disciples, on the way to get some certain age to be able to speak out in front of the people. But have you been to Kyoto, Michael?
Yeah, I have. And I've seen some very...
Have you seen the cherry blossoms?
Yeah. Well, not at the right time. I've seen kind of like the tail end of it. But something I noticed in Kyoto was with kind of in the middle of the city, obviously people don't have gardens. But what they did have were groups of containers on their kind of front step. And I took so many pictures, and I called them plant families. And that's a thing that I brought back to the UK and was talking about for a while, because It's like having a kind of jigsaw garden. You can move around the containers to suit, and you can refresh that display. Cute. And that is the kind of the true Japanese garden that I noticed, kind of especially in the middle of the city.
That's cute.
It was fantastic. Yeah,
that could be the true. It's so the Japanese. As you know, in daily life, it's really difficult to have Japanese garden style. As ourselves. Just like, you normally English people can have English garden at, in every each garden. So Japanese garden style is quite different because of that is much more concept or philosophy should be there as it's been still attached to the temples or shrines.
Okay.
And quite high maintenance, of course, as you can imagine, to keep, trimming all the time to keep, in that form or sort of. And, but of course, we have 4 seasons, like, in the UK, there's a 4 season as well. So we Japanese people really love plants and the flowers, but we don't go to the Japanese garden style because much more quite, high skilled.
Okay.
Not for everybody's, garden. And as Michael saw about, we in the middle of the city, like Tokyo, could be Kyoto as well. We don't have much huge garden space. So easy to go to the containers.
Yeah,
definitely.
So hanging baskets and then containers are much more popular rather than having the garden themselves.
Okay.
That's
mini Zen gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could do, yes.
How about in the UK the last few years, we've been talking a lot about wabi-sabi style?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that something that you guys actively work with, or how do you guys feel about wabi-sabi?
Personally, I really love wabi-sabi, philosophy. But I've been working as gardener in the UK as well. And when when the winter started to come in as a season, I feel wabi-sabi as well. So I'm not sure that is just for the Japanese things, or I don't know. I cannot mention about which particular country's philosophy, something like that. But the wabi-sabi is quite difficult theme to describe as well. But the feeling aging and how they have been coming into that, until now, that is, there's a story there, how anything has been coming through to this, point. It's telling us some story, and then how I feel about the story is included in kind of wabi-sabi concept. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Because wabi-sabi is kind of allowing nature to shape man-made objects a bit, isn't it? And so you would allow some of the wildflowers to grow, the plants to go to seed, allow moss to creep along the pathway. That's kind of my understanding of wabi-sabi, is kind of being more relaxed and letting nature have its part in the garden, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's even each Japanese, for us, really difficult to describe about what wabi-sabi means. But the wabi-sabi came from tea industry, Japanese tea industry.
Okay.
And there's one story. Everybody needed to clean, pass up because of the day while welcoming somebody quite, important person to come in. So they were tidying up all leaves, those things from the path to go to the tea house. But after that, the senior person just left just a few leaves, on the path to feel some sort of the story. Okay. That is quite wabi-sabi way as well.
Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? So coming back to the UK as well, so obviously you came over here and studied, which is awesome. Did you manage to visit any gardens here in the UK other than Great Dixter? Did you see anywhere else?
Yeah, quite many.
Which is your favourite then?
That's quite the quite big subject to take. But I started to research about Gertrude Jekyll.
Oh, yeah, Gertrude Jekyll. Yeah, we're big fans of her, and there's that's a big movement, and people are very much following that design too.
Yeah, once I started to dig in about her regent or her history, was really interesting as many things was connected to each other, because she went to the Great Dixter as well, and she went to somewhere else as well, and someone didn't see her, but some stories were connected to create the gardens or sort of things. I'm so much, really, I just, so excited to know about each sort of the story behind of the garden, how it was made.
I think that's a really important aspect of gardens, actually. When you visit any garden, understanding the story behind it is what helps you connect with it better. And you can understand why the beds and borders are like they are, why the plants have been chosen. I think the gardens that tell the story are the ones that perhaps stay in your memory for longer as well. Yeah. So how about flipping it around the other way? Have you visited any English gardens in Japan?
Yeah, not really.
You haven't been across to Barracuda at all?
While ago, yes.
Yeah. How did you find that? There's a lot of lovely dahlias there in the summer, isn't there?
Yeah, because of the spring and summer, I was always in the UK.
Okay.
So I missed the chance to visit Barracuda recently, or maybe last 10 years. But the Barracuda is quite, big garden and famous garden in Japan. And I'd love to go, to see Barracuda Garden one day.
Okay, yeah, I love it there, and every season is different, and of course it's put together by an English designer as well, so it's got the true English essence of a garden. You spend time there and you feel like you could be in Sussex or in Surrey in the UK. It's fantastic.
Cool.
I know.
That's really cool.
Talking about time of year, it soon must be Sakura time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How long have you got to wait now? I bet everyone's on tenterhooks waiting for
it. It's I think yesterday or today there was announcement, the cherry blossom is coming. I
love that. A big announcement. Yeah.
We don't have announcements like that in England. That's really cool.
Everybody's quite excited, and then because of this, coronavirus things, we needed to stay at home quite, most. So it's really quite big announcement for everybody.
Oh, that's cool.
In the UK, the National Trust are considering planting thousands and thousands of cherry trees so that we can enjoy the blossoms here, and to remember the people who have passed from coronavirus, and to remind us of the time, the difficult times we've had, but that is based upon the cherry blossoms in Japan. So They're looking at doing that in major cities around the UK. So maybe in a few years' time, we might also have an announcement to tell us that the cherry blossoms are out here.
That's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. What do you do when do you like use cherry blossom in any way when it comes to that time? Because I know on your Instagram a couple of weeks ago you were using the brassica, the mustard plant.
Oh, yes.
The flowers, and she made a broth with the yellow mustard flowers.
Did you?
And that's part of celebrating the plant, isn't it? But of course, there's lots of celebrations with Sakura. Do you use it? Do you make some pink things at that time of year?
Do you know red beans? Azuki.
Yeah. Oh, I love red beans. Yeah.
And there are also, many English friends, when they came over to Japan, they sometimes made a joke about, if there is any Japanese sweets, without having red beans inside.
Yeah.
We have many Japanese sweets, but quite any type of Japanese sweets have red beans inside always. And over the Sakura season, we have Sakura Mochi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. Mochi is kind of like the pounded rice, of like sweet, and and that must be pink in color then. Yeah,
pink. Yeah. That's pink.
Oh. And you have pink noodles as well, right? Pink soba. Yeah.
I haven't had the pink soba yet. That's
probably just something that you've made up yourself.
I've heard of it, yeah.
The different soba, yes, but we have pink noodles.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Last year, I experimented and made some, I put the blossom in hot water and kind of made a tea. And it didn't taste amazing, but the fragrance of the blossom was really lovely. It was like almonds. The fragrance of the blossom was divine.
I think there's quite a few blossoms that the buds will taste almondy, slightly nutty. I guess like the hot water released all the oils from the petals and you're getting that aroma. That sounds really nice, actually.
That's cool. I wanted to ask a question about Sakura because my partner asked me this last week and I didn't know the answer. He said all of the Sakura trees in Japan, right, they've got the blossom in the spring, but you don't hear about them the rest of the year. Do they actually produce fruit, Sakura trees?
That's
and is it edible?
Question.
Yeah, I didn't know the answer. I was so embarrassed.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's Sakura. Even the Sakura has got kind of philosophy there. Mm-hmm. Would be referred to Japanese mentality. Mm-hmm. Of course, Sakura trees need to wait to bloom about, a year, of course. And the Sakura need to get, really cold temperature as well before they are blooming. Mm-hmm. And that is related to be patient. Mm-hmm. And that is described as Japanese mentality. Mm-hmm. So, and after they started to bloom, the one particular type of Sakura, which we really love to see as cherry blossom, that is really short period of blooming because of the petal is really delicate.
Yeah.
And like in Wimbledon tennis, once they started to bloom, always, the winds and then the rains always, coming down to smash up the cherry blossom. So, of course, the days, how many days we can enjoy that cherry blossom is really short period. Mm-hmm. So that kind of things is all has got kind of Japanese mentality or just patient whole year to come to this season. After that once they started to bloom really beautifully, but in the second they just finish everything, and they are ready to get into the next stage already.
Yeah.
Oh, that is kind of the samurai spirit as well. Does it make sense? Samurai, story kind of that. Oh, yeah, probably, yeah. So we just enjoy Sakura this now, and after that, we just don't think about it.
Really?
That's actually quite interesting in that, you know, I've actually studied, believe it or not, quite a lot of research into Japanese way of living, because you have a longer life expectancy than many other countries in the world. And some of those reasons that keep coming up are that you are particularly patient, you feel you're quite connected with nature in general, and that you do focus on the one thing at a time. You know, we're always told, aren't we, that multitasking is really good for you, but it's actually really bad. And so like your philosophy very much is about looking at the one thing in that moment of time, and then you move on to the next thing. So that kind of all fits.
And the thing you feel
research.
Good at and the passion for.
Yeah,
as
you
well.
have the passion, you have the connection, you have the understanding, because you are present in that moment. And is that like, you know, I've never been to Japan. It's a dream to come along and see the cherry blossoms one day. So this is all from, you know, reading really for me. But is that philosophy generally how it is in Japan, that kind of patience and the focus on that one thing and being in the moment? Do you think that that does contribute to like the longer life expectancy that you have?
I really do think so. Especially when I saw, you know, the people in the countryside, they are still living with those kind of the, you know, the daily life, which is really beautiful. And of course, Tokyo is started to change a little bit about an aspect of the how they, everybody want to have long life, of course.
Yeah.
How we can have daily life is quite changing now. And it started from the city like Tokyo or some big city. But the countryside is really beautiful. And they are trying to communicate with nature. And of course, the food as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Wow.
I love that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I really want to ask you, what differences do you notice between spending your time in England and spending your time in Japan? And we won't be offended, whatever you say, don't worry.
You can be honest.
You can tell us our food is bad, don't worry.
No, English, British food is getting much more beautiful. I love it. But I've been missing about, the from the UK side is a pub, pub food.
Oh, yeah.
Do you go to the pub and have a burger? Do you get like burger and chips and a pint of beer?
Scampi and fries.
Scampi and fries and a Red Bull and vodka or something.
Not much fried, but the Sunday roast, of course.
Yeah.
And when I went down to the seaside, of course, fish and chips is my favorite to have. And not really like, I love fish and chips, really.
Mm-hmm. And my nephew, who's from America, he came over a few years ago and he moved overseas when he was, I think it was about 7 or something. But all he could remember was fish and chips. Mm-hmm. And I'm not joking. When he came back over here, he ate fish and chips every single day.
Really?
Every day. We had to take him to a different pub or different fish and chip shop stand. I think, honestly, all around the world, we're known for our fish and chips.
But you know what? I have to tell you, my partner's from Poland, so he kind of likes a fairly different cuisine. And I've taken him to a fish and chip shop before. And do you know what he ordered? He ordered salmon and salad.
Oh, my God.
What are you doing?
No.
You've got to have fish and chips.
Ask him to have fish and chips, Michael.
I know.
You're going to have to say you are not coming to a fish and chip shop with me again.
I was really embarrassed.
I would be too.
Oh, my gosh.
Anyway.
What about kind of English culture? Kind of any differences you see there? Obviously, there are plenty of differences, but just which ones do you notice the most?
What I have learned about most is in Japan, the women are quite difficult to speak out in front of or in the meeting when we were having. But in the UK, we just need to speak out. And that was really big difference between the UK and Japan for me, especially. Why I thought about it was the quite early stage of my life in England. We just went to one of the friend's house after the work finished. Mm-hmm. And the guy started to cook, or started to make, burgers, something just easy sort of things. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why, but I wasn't able to say I want to have the burger as well. Mm-hmm. I was just shy to speak out, and I was the first person to be asked about, would you like to have burger or something like that? And I just didn't. Oh, I'm fine. And then, but other friends started to say, oh, I want to have it. And then oh, yes, me too, or something like that. And after all things, done, I thought about, I haven't eaten anything. So I'm so hungry. I want to have burger if guys are having. And I said to one of my friends, oh, I want to have burger as well. But that time, everything has gone. There's nothing to left about burger for me. So I said, oh, I should have said the burger, from the beginning.
You've just got to go for it here.
Yeah.
Male, female, doesn't matter. If you want your burger, you need to get your burger.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I learned about it.
Is it quite empowering, though, perhaps, to be in the UK as a female and know that you can just speak out, speak up, do what you want? Is it different in that way?
In Japan?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. I think, definitely, yes. It is quite difficult. It was difficult to speak out in Japan for me, but now I don't mind to, whatever they think about me, so I just speak out.
Good.
But
That's
I think,
great. Yeah.
Well,
and what those skills from the UK, spending time in England, helped you to bring those skills in, would you say?
I think definitely.
Okay,
That's really good.
Glad we can help.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Oh, we could talk to you forever. There's so much. It's so nice to swap ideas about cultures and different kind of feelings on stuff. Wow. Oh,
yeah.
What else can I ask? Oh, I know what I want to ask. What did you have for dinner?
Oh, tonight. Because now it's, getting quite, the supper will be 9 o'clock, something like that. Yeah. So I might choose much more vegetables for tonight.
Uh-huh.
I've got carrots in my fridge and some other, the vegetables. I think I might make, some mix of some vegetables with Japanese rice and the miso soup probably.
Oh, lovely.
Oh,
how traditional.
Hang on, I need to show you something. Carry on chatting. Hang on. Can you just say about Japanese rice? Wait a second. I'm just rustling through my seeds.
Oh, I miss all the Japanese food. I really love sukiyaki.
Oh, do you?
Like a hot pot where you have the very thin beef and you dip it in egg and then you dip it in the sauce. And my God, I could eat that every day of my life. It's amazing.
Okay, you just mentioned Japanese rice. This year, I'm actually going to try and grow some Japanese rice here.
Ooh.
So I'm told apparently it won't be as hard as I think it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
have it wet?
But
right?
do you have any tips? So apparently not as much as you would expect. But do you have any tips? Please help.
I'm not sure about Japanese rice, for growing. But I think we need to make a puddle. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was reading that you would need to make a puddle and keep it watered at all times, but apparently it doesn't need to be as wet as you would expect, or maybe it's just these. I don't really know, but I'm very excited about giving this a go. So I'm going to go in a big pot, so it looks like, I want to kind of recreate that kind of look of the rice.
So you could harvest your own rice. That's cool. There's also a few years ago, there's a black-leaved rice that I saw being sold as an ornamental grass. That would be a cool one to track down as well.
Yeah,
I don't know if it gives you a crop, but it's really decorative. Yeah,
I think, but they have got much fibers in it. I think we need to soak much more than Japanese white rice, but we have black rice as well. Yeah, as you know, that is much more nutrients, of course, than the fibers of those.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Do you use edible flowers a lot there in any way? Do you use them medicinally, or do you, use them for decoration?
Yeah, we do. We do both way for decoration and also the medicinally. Yeah, of course. Yeah, we do both. Yeah.
Are there some that you would particularly, are they used more in Japan than others? Are there particular flowers that you would definitely grow medicinally?
I don't know. I like quite any type of food.
Sorry, we're all looking around because some roadworks have just started outside.
Just completely randomly.
Go tell them off.
Yeah, they've just literally started doing something.
Sorry,
I'm going to go and be nosy.
Right. Sorry, continue, Makiko.
I'm not sure about the food particular one, but I love any food. So if I had a chance to have it, I just do have it.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I love with sushi sometimes you have the little shiso buds, which we would call perilla. You've probably grown perilla before, I'm sure.
Have I?
And it has such an unusual flavor. It's kind of like an aniseed-ish, but it works really well with the sushi, doesn't it? And of course, like all Japanese cuisine, it's those kind of small flavors and kind of the delicateness of stuff that just creates something so beautiful. And I love it all. I'm really hungry for Japanese lunch now.
While we have the sheet pots, was it? But the sushi probably. What you have seen.
Sure.
The shiso was the kind of
red ones.
Raw fish is sometimes, giving us some not really nice to our stomach. So the shiso is meaning of cleanse, cleanse of the stomach after we had the raw fish. So that's the reason. Always.
Very cool.
I imagine there's all reasons why things are included in meals. There's so much thought that goes into everything, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, what else do I love? I want to talk about Japanese food all day. I love cold noodles, cold soba noodles. Oh, my God, it's delicious. Oh, I think they do it in Wagamama, though, I'm sure. Yeah.
I haven't been to Wagamama. Well, actually, no, I haven't been to Wagamama for ages, but
yeah. We haven't been to anywhere.
Exactly. No. What do you think about Japanese food that's made here in the UK? Is it actually genuinely similar to Japanese food or not at all?
It depends on restaurant or shop, really. I have found many real kind of Japanese restaurants in London as well, and some are quite just similar to, but not really real taste. But that's okay. I loved it.
Cool.
Wow, that's excellent.
Really awesome.
Oh, it's so good to talk to you today. This has become much more than just a gossip. We almost feel we've just written notes to each other. We're like, this needs to be a full episode because this is just really interesting to learn more about, different cultures. And it feels a real honor to talk to you about that.
It sure does. Like, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just really interesting to talk to anyone who's passionate about plants for a start, let alone, from a different culture. And I think our listeners will be really interested to hear from you for sure.
Of course. Oh, the thing we haven't talked about is the forest bathing. That's become a big movement here. And Ellen is quite a tree hugger.
I am a tree hugger.
She will hug a tree, which is fantastic.
I love trees.
But what's it called? The forest bathing? What's the name?
Shinrin-yoku. Yeah. So forest bathing, I always, whenever I mention it to anybody, is it when you call it forest bathing here, people assume they've got to put a swimming costume on. So no, you don't have to put your swim trunks on. But so we're understanding and accepting a little more in the UK now how important nature is for our overall well-being. And I think most definitely over the past year as well, since we've, of course, had coronavirus and everyone's been at home more, the need to connect with the natural world has just become really very intrinsic to everyone's well-being. And one of those things that I've been talking about for ages is, of course, walking amongst trees and the health benefits of doing so. And most of the research up to this point has come from Japan, and how important it is for not just our longevity and overall well-being, but also in the moment it can reduce your blood pressure and release good endorphins, and there's good psychological, physiological changes for children. It can even help children with ADHD, good for cognitive behavior. I mean, just so many amazing benefits. And one bit of research I thought was so interesting, and again, this was in Japan, was that people who have diabetes who are not insulin dependent actually find that walking amongst trees balances their blood sugar levels out. I mean, that's exceptional research, it's incredible. And so I have this idyllic picture that everybody in Japan loves to walk amongst trees and, fully embraces that kind of nature in their lives. Is that the case in general? And do you know about that research that's been done into forest bathing? Is that kind of well documented in Japan?
I think the Shinrin-yoku is quite, now it's not trend anymore. The word itself is quite, well known. But just when we wanted to do the forest bathing, Shinrin-yoku, we travel to some special place because the Japanese people are quite hard worker, and of course it's in general. We are quite, we need to live with lots of distress around in life, and in the long work hours, lots of pressures or those things. So I think somebody started to say, started to focus on nature on the other side of as human being, and Japanese, there is 4 seasons in Japan. So we had known how to be able to communicate with nature long time ago.
Yeah.
But some, life, we just forgot about it. We just left it aside. So someone started to pick it up as theme. We need to be more well-being. We need to communicate with the nature or something like that. Was one of the way as Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, forest bathing, no swimsuits needed. Yeah.
But that is particular area we say, I think, because there's not much forest around in Tokyo area. But we have a few small islands which are really beautiful, just forest.
Yeah.
Original nature is there.
Sure.
Yeah, that's nice.
So it is, I think it isn't just about going for a walk amongst trees, like if you're walking your dogs or, if you're going out with the kids, it is about intentionally going to walk amongst trees for your health. You're not just going to visit the park or the forest, you are going with the intention
in the moment
that you are in that
yeah.
moment for your health, and that's what that's all about.
That's
so
brilliant.
yeah.
It feels like we're learning so much from your culture continuously. You know, we've talked about Shinrin Yoko, Ikigai, I think is when you follow that one habit, wabi sabi.
Ikebana.
Yeah, we're just learning so much from you guys. We love it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. We probably need to bring this to a close, even though we could talk for hours. But thank you so much for joining us. And I know that it's the evening there, so thank you for kind of doing an evening recording with us.
No, thank you so much for having me tonight or today.
It's been a pleasure.
Super nice. So we'll let you know when the episode's going to come out, but hopefully very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure. I just have pictures of cherry blossom in my mind now. So I'm looking forward to seeing some photos soon.
Yeah, especially because you've had the announcement. It could be very soon. You must send us some pictures.
Yes, I will do. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
I will do.
Thank you,
yes.
Super cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cobra is the very proud partner of Series 4 of the Plant-Based Podcast, joining in the celebration of plants, gardens and outdoor living. With over 60 models of lawnmowers available in the Cobra range, there's something for every garden. As a special offer for our listeners, Cobra is offering the chance to win exclusive prizes. Head over to cobragarden.co.uk to find out more.
The music for the Plant-Based Podcast is part of the song Grow by Mikey James, and our editor is Gareth Patch of Semi Echo.